This episode will show 4 exercises you can use to reverse lower back pain, and one of them literally works instantly. If you suffer from a tight band of pain across your very lower back, you have trouble standing up straight after sitting down, or you feel intense stiffness when you try to put your socks on in the morning, this episode provides the exact solution you need to get your life back. Welcome back to the Senior Health Podcast, where Japan's oldest practicing doctor helps you age strong and stay independent. Before we do anything else today, I have a huge favor to ask. We want to know exactly who is watching and interacting with us today. Please pause the video right now. Go to the comments and drop a 1 if you are a brand new viewer to our channel, or drop a 2 if you have been watching our videos for a while. It means the world to us to see who is making up this wonderful community. Doctor, over your decades of practice, you have noticed that seniors over the age of 50 tend to develop this very specific type of back issue. A strict band of pain located very low in the back. Why does this suddenly appear? Why does it make rolling over in bed or bending down to tie shoes so incredibly agonizing? And most importantly, what can we do to fix it?
The reason this pain feels so specific is because it is usually isolated to one exact location. It is called the lumbosacral joint. This is the absolute lowest joint in your entire spine, right where your lumbar spine connects to your sacrum. To understand why this creates such severe pain, I want you to imagine your spine as a massive, heavy construction crane. The lumbosacral joint is the single base hinge anchored to the ground. Every ounce of weight, every load you lift, and every movement you make pivots directly on that one specific base hinge.
That is a terrifying visual when you think about it. If that base hinge is compromised, the entire construction crane is in danger of collapsing or seizing up entirely.
You hit the nail on the head. That is exactly what happens. Over the age of 50, that base hinge starts to experience natural wear and tear. But the wear and tear is not what actually causes the agonizing pain. The severe pain happens because the joint literally becomes jammed completely out of its normal position. And once it is jammed, every time you try to bend forward to put on your socks, you are grinding a stuck hinge against itself. And that is what we can fix with exercising.
Okay, but before we get into exercising, just one important question we need to get answered. What are we doing in our daily lives that forces this heavy base hinge to jam up in the first place? Are we causing this ourselves?
We absolutely are causing it ourselves. The lumbosacral joint gets jammed out of its normal position when our lower back sags backward. This happens when sitting on deep, soft couches where your hips sink lower than your knees, causing your tailbone to tuck under and your lower back to round outward, or sitting up in bed to read or watch television with your feet propped out in front of you.
I know for a fact that sitting up in bed is a nightly ritual for millions of people. Why is that specific position so destructive to this joint?
Because your legs are straight out in front of you, your hamstrings pull your pelvis into a severe backward tilt. Your lower spine is forced to sag deeply backward, placing immense mechanical shear force directly onto the base hinge. You are actively wedging the joint backward. If your lower back hurts, you must never sit in bed with your legs straight out, and you must never sit in a chair with your feet propped up on a high footstool. You must always sit all the way back in a firm chair to support the natural inward arch of your lower spine.
That makes total sense. We are basically pushing the hinge backward until it gets stuck. So if sitting sagged backward jams the joint, how do we unjam it? You mentioned there is a way to push it back into place.
Yes, and the concept is beautifully simple. If sagging backward breaks it, we must gently stretch it the opposite way to fix it. I have a positional reset exercise that does this and provides stunning relief in as little as 30 seconds. But you must perform it correctly. Once we reset this joint, I will share a rotational secret that chiropractors use to open the joint completely.
Wow, so we actually get to do what a chiropractor does at home? I cannot wait to see that. But first, let us fix the jam. Walk us through this 30-second joint reset.
This is our first exercise. You need to lie face down on your stomach on a firm surface. A yoga mat on the floor or a very firm mattress will work perfectly. Start by simply lying completely flat. Now, slowly and gently, lift your chest up off the floor and prop yourself up onto your elbows. Your forearms should be resting flat on the ground in front of you, lifting your upper body slightly into the air while your hips remain glued to the floor.
I am picturing this posture right now. It looks similar to a Sphinx pose in yoga, but I have to ask about safety. Bending the back into an arch like that might scare someone who is already in severe pain. Is there a warning sign they should look out for?
That is a highly perceptive question, John. You must treat this first movement as a diagnostic test. When you lift up onto your elbows, you are compressing the back of the joint to push the jammed tissue forward. If doing this causes a sharp, biting pain in your lower back, it means the joint is currently deeply inflamed and swollen, and in that case you should skip this exercise entirely for today and move to the second one.
What if it does not cause sharp pain? What if it just feels like a very deep, slightly uncomfortable stiffness?
If it just feels stiff or provides a dull, stretching sensation, you are in the clear. That stiffness is just the jammed joint slowly sliding back into its proper anatomical position. Try to keep your head up, but you do not need to strain your neck looking straight ahead. Just relax into this propped-up position for 30 seconds. If 30 seconds feels too intense, lower yourself flat for a moment to rest and then come back up.
It sounds like gravity is doing most of the work here. You are just creating the angle and letting the weight of your hips anchor the lower body.
Precisely. You want to aim to relax in this exact position every single night for 30 seconds to undo all the backward sagging you did throughout the day. Over time, as the joint becomes healthier, you can gradually build your endurance up to a full minute. If it feels exceptionally good, you can even add a tiny bit of mobilization by bending one knee so your foot points to the ceiling and gently letting that foot fall slightly across your other leg. But only do that if the base hold is pain-free.
Okay, so we have used the elbows to push the joint back into place, but you teased a chiropractic secret earlier. Why do we need to do anything else if the joint is back in its groove?
Pushing it back is only half the battle. The joint is still incredibly tight and starved of synovial fluid. Now we need to open the joint up to loosen the surrounding tissues and bring fresh circulation into the hinge. And the absolute best way to open this specific joint is with rotation. The second exercise mimics exactly how osteopaths, physical therapists, and chiropractors release this joint in a clinical setting.
That is incredibly valuable. Having a clinical technique we can do safely at home is huge. How do we set this up?
Start off by flipping over and lying flat on your back on your bed. Bend your knees and lift your feet off the mattress so your thighs are in a vertical position pointing straight up toward the ceiling. Keep your knees together. Now slowly let both of your knees fall to one side as far as feels comfortable, and then slowly bring them back through the center and drop them to the opposite side.
So it is a slow, rhythmic rocking motion from left to right. How far down should the knees go? Should they be touching the mattress on each side?
The depth depends entirely on your personal flexibility. For some seniors, moving the knees halfway down to the mattress provides a massive stretch. For others, their knees might almost touch the ground. Never force it. Just move side to side smoothly for about 30 seconds. This is a brilliant way to unglue the stiff facets of the lumbosacral joint, and it actually engages your deep core muscles simultaneously.
That rocking motion makes a lot of sense for loosening things up, but is there a way to target the stretch even deeper for someone who has a really stubborn tight back?
Yes, there is a finishing touch to this rotational movement that changes everything. Scoot over to the very edge of your bed. Lie on your back with your face and your chest pointing straight up toward the ceiling. Cross your arms over your chest. Keep your inside leg comfortably bent with your foot on the mattress. Now, let your outside leg hang freely over the edge of the bed.
Letting the leg completely dangle off the side? That sounds like it would create a massive pull on the lower back.
It creates a highly targeted traction effect. Because your chest remains facing the ceiling, the heavy weight of your dangling leg naturally rotates your pelvis and opens the lumbosacral joint. You do not have to push or force anything. You simply allow gravity to pull the joint open. Hold this stretch for 20 seconds on one side, then turn around and do the other side. You can even bounce the dangling leg up and down a tiny bit to gently mobilize the tissue.
Doctor, this sequence is brilliant so far. We push the joint back into place on our elbows, and then we use rotation to open it up and bring in fluid. But I have to imagine that if the muscles surrounding the joint are weak, the joint is just going to slip right back out of place the moment we stand up.
You have correctly identified the biggest flaw in most back pain treatments. Relief is temporary if stability is absent. We open the joint, but if we stop here, the pain will simply return tomorrow morning. We must fix the multifidus. Once we activate this hidden muscle, I have one final standing movement that levels the entire foundation of the body.
Everyone, please stay with us, or all the relief you just created with the first two stretches will vanish by tomorrow. We have to lock the joint in place. Doctor, what exactly is the multifidus, and why is it so critical?
The multifidus is the deepest stabilizing muscle in your lower back. It runs along the spine connecting each vertebra. Think of the vertebrae as heavy bricks. The multifidus is the strong mortar holding those bricks tightly together. Recent clinical research shows that when the multifidus muscle becomes weak and shrinks, patients are significantly more likely to suffer from chronic recurrent low back pain.
If it is hidden that deep beneath the surface, how do we even reach it? What is the third exercise?
We strengthen it using a highly controlled hovering technique. I want you to sit up and get onto your hands and knees on the floor or on your firm bed. Look straight down between your hands. The first thing you must do is tighten your stomach muscles slightly to flatten the curve in your lower back. You want your spine to be a completely flat table.
Okay, I am in the table position with my core braced. What is the movement?
Keeping your entire body perfectly still, lift one arm straight out in front of you with your thumb pointing up toward the ceiling. At the exact same time, lift your opposite knee just one single inch off the ground. Do not lift it high. Just hover it 1 inch above the floor.
Only 1 inch? I feel like most people try to kick their leg all the way back into the air when they are on their hands and knees. Why just a tiny hover?
Because the moment you kick your leg high into the air, your lower back arches and you lose the multifidus entirely. By hovering the knee just 1 inch, you force the deep spinal stabilizers to work in overdrive to keep your body balanced. The ultimate challenge is trying not to shift your body weight sideways as you lift the arm and the knee. Hold that hovering position nice and steady for 5 seconds, then lower down and switch to the other side.
That sounds incredibly challenging when you realize how hard your core has to work just to prevent you from tipping over.
It requires immense concentration. Repeat this hover several times on each side until you feel a light fatigue in your lower back. Do this 3 times a week. Over time, as your multifidus becomes an iron fortress, you can work toward the advanced version. The advanced version is extending the opposite arm and leg completely straight out into the air for a 5-second hold.
Are there any strict rules for the advanced version so people do not hurt themselves?
Yes, even in the advanced version, you must never lift your back heel higher than your hip. If the heel goes above the hip, the lower back arches violently. You must also fight to keep your back perfectly flat without twisting one side of your pelvis up toward the ceiling. Keep the hips totally square to the floor.
We have pushed the joint back, we have opened it with rotation, and we have rebuilt the deep mortar holding the spine together. You mentioned earlier there is a fourth and final movement done standing up. How does standing up play into lower back pain?
It goes back to the construction crane analogy. The spine is the crane, and the lumbosacral joint is the base hinge. But what is the base hinge attached to? It is attached to your pelvis. If the muscles that keep your pelvis level become weak, your pelvis tilts sideways. If the ground tilts, the base hinge is forced into a highly inflamed crooked position. We finish the routine by strengthening the lateral pelvic muscles to keep your foundation perfectly flat.
I love how every step of this routine builds on the last one. We are working from the inside out. What is the fourth exercise to level the pelvis?
Stand on one leg facing a wall. You can rest your fingertips very gently against the drywall for balance, but try your best not to lean heavily on your hands. You want your legs doing the work. Now take your hovering leg and begin moving it in large circles in the air.
Just drawing big circles with the foot? Where should people feel this working?
You will not feel it in the leg that is drawing the circles. You will feel it deep in the outer hip of the leg you are standing on. Balancing on one single leg while the other leg creates circular momentum forces the pelvic stabilizing muscles to fire rapidly to keep you from falling over. Make the circles incredibly large and very, very slow.
I am trying to simulate that balancing act right now holding onto my desk. You are right. The standing hip starts burning almost instantly because it is fighting against the swinging weight of the opposite leg.
That burning sensation is exactly what we want. Keep drawing those slow circles until you feel a light fatigue beginning in your outer pelvic stabilizing muscles. Then switch and do the other side. Do not push to failure. Light fatigue is enough. Once you find the basic circles easy to do for 30 seconds, you can progress the movement.
How do we make the circles harder without adding ankle weights or resistance bands?
You increase the range of motion by tilting your pelvis. As you draw the circle, actively tilt your pelvis to the side to lift your circling foot even higher up into the air at the peak of the movement. Keep the circle agonizingly slow, especially as you reach that highest point. The slower you go, the harder the standing hip has to work to keep the foundation level.
Such a powerful routine.